Welcome to Ohio Roots, the official podcast of the Ohio Genealogical Society. Join us as we embark on a captivating journey through Ohio's rich genealogy, history, and abundant resources. Hosted by me, OGS Executive Director Noel Poirier, this podcast brings you insightful conversations with a diverse array of guests, from OGS members, chapter leaders, and staff to renowned genealogists, historians, and influential figures within the genealogical community. Each episode delves into fascinating topics and captivating stories. So grab your headphones, hit that play button, and join us on this enthralling journey of Ohio's roots. My guest on this episode of the Ohio Roots podcast is Sunda Peters. The name Sunda Peters shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody if you've been associated with OGS for any duration of time. Sunda's been associated with OGS for decades, doing amazing work, mostly out of the Richland County chapter area here in Belleville and in Mansfield. I get to see Sunda pretty regularly at the OGS Samuel D. Isley Library because that's where the Richland County chapter handles a lot of their volunteer work and their programs and activities. So I get to see her pretty regularly. But I thought it'd be really nice to sit down and chat with Sunda about all of her years with OGS, her contributions. So I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I had a great time speaking with Sunda. Just to note that we did record this live at the OGS Library, so if the audio sounds a little choppy at times, that'll explain it for you. Sunda, thank you for joining me on Ohio Roots. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome.
I'm going to ask you the first question I ask everybody, which if you know this, you've heard me say it. How did you get started in genealogy personally?
Well, my mother's mother always insisted that we go to our local reunions. There was the Schultz reunion, and later we had the Anderson
Was that
reunion.
here in Richland County?
It was in Licking County.
Licking County, okay.
And so she was the one who said, you know, doesn't matter who your cousins are, they're your cousins.
Right.
And you treat them as nicely as you can. And it's only once a year.
Yeah. You only have to treat your cousins nice once a year. Perfect.
And then I think it was in fourth grade, there was the question, like, who were your immigrant ancestors? Okay. Well, I didn't have any, and Grandma and Mom and Grandpa didn't know the answer to who the immigrants were. Sure. Well, it was too far back.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was another place.
Was there a large immigrant community looking at that time? Was that one of the reasons the question came up?
The Welsh are, but they were there in the early 1800s.
Right.
So, and we lived in the Welsh Hills.
Okay.
So, you know, we had, you know, I was in the high school choir, as were all four of my sisters, with the other Welsh descendant kids.
All named Smith or something?
Davis, Jenkins, Evans. So, you know, that was another thing that focused my life. And then after I got married and lived in D.C. for a while, Grandma said, well, you should just go to the National Archives and do some research. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
She didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And so I regret that I didn't press her more to say, who do you want me to look up and what are their dates?
Yeah. She just figured, I'll let you loose in the National Archives, and that's good.
Let me loose. So
how old were you?
Well, I was just 21 at that point in time.
But we know from genealogy, that's a young age to get started.
Right.
I mean...
And it wasn't until about 1980 when I opened the mailbox and my neighbor's mail was in there.
Okay.
And in there was a newsletter from the Ohio Genealogical Society.
Wow.
And I looked it over and I thought, that's here. I must investigate this.
What year was that?
It was about 1979 or 80.
Okay, so pretty old. Yeah, I mean, that was you're kind of leading me into where my next question was, which is when did you become familiar with Ohio Genealogical Society? And you kind of answered that, but when did you start to actually kind of get active?
Just within the next couple years.
Okay.
And so I would teach school, and you couldn't go to the courthouse for research because you were teaching during those hours. And so on Saturdays, I decided I'd put in a couple hours at OGS when we were on 3rd Street.
In Mansfield, correct?
In Mansfield, yes.
Sorry, not all of our listeners know where we are.
That's right. And so, you know, I got acquainted with the people who were volunteering there.
What are the names that you remember from? From there?
Mary Jane Henney. And yes, Carrie Latimer. And Florence Main was the volunteer librarian, and she would come down from Mayfield Heights every week or so and catalog books and put them on the shelves. And she was a neat lady. So I learned a lot from Mary Jane. I took her class when she taught it at Madison Joint Vocational School, I guess it was called at that point in time. And
so what was OGS doing at that time? I mean, you mentioned classes and things like that, like when we're talking back in the 70s, late 70s.
They had Mary Jane taught the classes at the, you know, senior education part, whatever they called it at that point in time, and so, you know, then at some point, Sue Lee, who was the newsletter editor, decided that she and her husband and family were going to move to South Carolina and leave open the OGS newsletter position. And of course, Mary Jane suggested that I take over that job. Which I did. It was a real challenge, but a real learning experience.
How many years were you doing that?
13 and a quarter.
Is there a story behind the quarter part?
Well, we got somebody else to take over.
All right, good enough. You've mentioned some names that I've only obviously read about, other than Sue Lee. We all know.
Sue is still around.
Sue's still around, editor of the OGSQ. What were some of your fondest kind of memories of being at OGS or around OGS? I mean, I know that a lot of organizations, genealogical organizations, collectors organizations, they kind of start out as a social gathering, right? I mean, people like to socialize.
Right.
And I know COVID kind of set us back a little bit with that for a couple of years. But were there a lot of those kind of social opportunities with OGS early?
Just there was the annual conference, but I think there was because Ashland and Richland were cooperating on a newsletter. There was a lot of flow between Richland and Ashland, and then into Cleveland because those people in Warren area in Trumbull County were working on cemeteries, and that was a uniting factor. So everybody was into cemeteries and reading cemeteries. Carol Bell was in that group, and she had done so much genealogy, and so I did go to visit the library where she was working in Warren. And she'd done a tremendous job there. So.
Talk to me a minute. Like, when did the Mansfield chapter of OGS was that around when you got involved, or did it come?
It started out. OGS started out as like a Richland County thing. And
that was
then
my thinking.
It was 5 years from that started in 1959, and I wasn't here yet. But then it was 5 years later they decided to split and then add other counties to the mix.
Is that when you got involved? Were you getting involved with the the Richland chapter first, or did you kind of come to OGS as an OGS entity first?
I came to OGS first.
Okay.
Because I said, I don't have any Richland County ancestors. And so for probably 15 years, I kept saying that until DNA came along.
Okay.
And I was able to prove that my father's father's father, through DNA, was originally from Richland County.
Oh, okay.
They ended up in Nebraska.
Okay. Well, my question was going to ask you next, like, how did the DNA solve that problem? That when the paper records couldn't, but I think you kind of answered that.
That's right.
Yeah.
There aren't any paper records. Yeah. I have a letter from the birth mother's sister,
right,
saying Roland is my sister's child.
Okay.
And William Butterbaugh
good man,
was who she was dating at the time.
Okay.
And William Butterbaugh turned out to be the DNA.
He's the Richland guy.
And
nice.
So his father is buried in Belleville Cemetery.
Oh, wow.
And his father is buried in Independence Cemetery in Butler. So now I have Richland County ancestors.
And
I can
one right down the street.
be feel honest about joining the chapter.
I don't think they'd kick you out.
For information on registering for the annual OGS Fall Retreat being held September 13th and 14th, 2024 at the Doubletree by Hilton in Dublin, Ohio, please visit the OGS website at www.ogs.org. Registration may be done online at the website, or you may download a brochure and send in your registration monies via check. We're looking forward to seeing all of you in Dublin, Ohio this fall. If you enjoy listening to the Ohio Roots podcast, we would really appreciate it if you could go to whatever platform it is that you listen and give us a good review. Reviews help us get more listeners and reach more people with Ohio Roots and what we're trying to do with the Ohio Genealogical Society. So please, leave us a nice review, and thanks for listening.
You mentioned the newsletter, but I know you've played a lot of other roles for OGS. Can you chat a little bit about all the things you've done to help OGS over the years? You can keep it brief.
Well, I remember Kay Hudson and I, when we were indexing the 1880 census, we at OGS have the original books. So we were on one Sunday afternoon or two Sunday afternoons or more. We couldn't read the Cincinnati stuff on the microfilm. And so we took our magnifying glasses and our yellow sheet to see if we could bring out the ink. And so we finished indexing the Cincinnati section of the 1880 census. So I worked on that. I worked on the Civil War soldier system, which OGS cooperated with the National Archives and other groups. Julie Overton's idea of Ohio towns and townships, she passed away before that was finished. And so Kay Hudson and I finished that up for her. Let's see. With Roger Troutman, who was interested in gravestones because of their lichen and mosses. But he led the project for OGS to find all of the cemeteries in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So I worked on that too. Let's see. There are, what other things?
Well, you've been in positions of leadership with OGS, correct?
Yeah, I was a trustee for quite a few years, and then when they needed a new person according to the rules and regulations, somebody else couldn't run. I had to run as president, although I prefer the hands-on project.
Well, yeah, most do.
And not standing up in front of audiences and writing president's messages and so forth. But It's just something you do that
Right.
has to be done. I worked a lot on the Richland County thing. That may be
Sure.
your next question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you've been so involved with Richland County. I mean, you're a fixture here, obviously, at the library. I wanted you to give an opportunity to talk up Richland County in the chapter, and talk about all the things that you guys have done.
Well, it has been 13 years now that the probate judge mayor, asked Missy if the chapter would be interested in sorting through the probate packets so that they could be digitized.
Right.
And he hired a person to scan the thing, but there are so many loose pieces of paper in those early records that it was taking a long time. And then the family search group came and said, we'd like to digitize that through 1935.
Right.
So we kept unfolding and got through 1935, and we rested for a month or so, and then Judge Mayer said, how would you like to keep doing that project? And so I said, I can't come to the courthouse anymore because of the walking that it takes to get in there. And he said, well, we'll bring them down to you. And so OGS was great enough to allow us to work on Mondays. We're usually here between, say, 9:15 and 4:45, unfolding probate packets. And then I take the list home that we've made and type that up. And so probate court has my index list that they use on the computer to find the files. What year are you up to? We are now up to 1974.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And evidently we have to go to 1996.
Okay.
Which could take us another 20 years at this rate.
Well, it brings up an interesting point, because you've been doing genealogy spanning, when you were talking about having to index manually the 1880 census. And then when the 1950 census came out, just recently, it's basically run through a software program, and they did ask for help, obviously, in doing some of it, but a lot of it's done electronic. How do you feel about the idea that you spent all this time indexing something by hand, and now suddenly they have this technology, or they believe they have the technology that can index it accurately?
Yeah. Well, I feel good that I got to participate.
Yeah.
And that it was done and ready for people to use.
Yeah.
I also feel good that there's new technology that can do some of the work.
Right. Your point with the packets, though, to me, is one of those great points, which is to digitize some things, even to do that process, still requires a knowledgeable individual to get the information prepared for them. Right.
Right. Yeah. Right. And you have to be able to read cursive.
Right. which is a challenge for some people. But yeah, no. So I mean, it just seems like I'm always I like it when I see you guys working here, because it just shows that there's still that step, right?
Right.
You can't just throw something into a computer or throw something into a scanner and instantly have what you're able to produce, or what genealogists are able to produce, by actually physically looking at the documents. I think that's pretty important.
Right. Yeah. Well, the probate court wants to use the room that they store the boxes of probate packets in as another courtroom.
Right.
And so they sent out the 1936 through 1966 records to be digitized in Cleveland.
Okay.
We wanted them to come back to us, and we went through the paperwork to have them donated to the chapter, and we found a storage spot. But we recently learned that they destroyed them all.
So they destroyed them after the scanning.
Yeah, they scanned them, they destroyed them. And they say that we are going to get a hard drive so that we will still have
that material,
the records available so we can see them. And
the shame of that to me is that once you lose that tangible document, we don't, like, for instance, I don't think we know what technology will be able to do 10 or 15 years from now.
Right.
And so to scan it using technology today, as good as it is, who knows what that technology could have told us 10 or 15 years from now. For all we know, you could have picked up DNA off of those things. I mean, who knows what's going to be capable, we're going to be capable of. So, it's kind of unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that.
Right. Yeah. And, we were very disappointed, and we've maybe lost 2 of our volunteers because of that. Yeah. And so, we'll have to build back up again in our number of volunteers.
I know
they're dedicated.
I know. I see them all the time. I know you guys do a lot of the Richland County chapter does a lot of programs, and so I want to end our little chat here with a question for you. When somebody comes to one of your programs, particularly your lock-in that you have coming up in July, a new person who's just maybe getting started, and you're getting them started, and you were only allowed to give them one really good bit of advice on getting started doing genealogy. What advice would you give them?
Oh, I would say join OGS and ask questions.
I think that's 2, but we'll let it fly. But your question about joining OGS, and I don't want to harp on it, but I want to ask you a question about that. Why should somebody join an organization like OGS?
Well,
what's your thinking?
There's so much to learn.
Right.
And when you get together with other people, even if you're sitting next to them at a computer and going through census records,
right,
you often talk back and forth, and you learn from them.
Right.
And every time you come in, you're learning something new.
Yeah.
When you come to the Richland County chapter meetings, when we have speakers, then, no matter how long I've been in this, there's always something new or something to remind you, oh, now I remember that, and I can look at that the next time I'm in and researching. It's and the camaraderie of a local chapter or volunteers at OGS. Everybody helps each other.
Right.
If somebody doesn't have the answer to the question, another person does. And if we're all stumped, then we go to the staff and say, "Oh, what do you know about this?"
And then we make up answers for you. No, go ahead. Finish.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say after that. So.
Oh, okay. Well, Sunda, I want to thank you for joining me today for Ohio Roots. I want to also thank you for everything you do for OGS and for the Richland County chapter. I don't think enough people appreciate what many of the chapter leaders do, and the chapter and the folks who keep people motivated. And I just want to say I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it's my pleasure.
Well, thank you.
It's OGS is my second home.
Well, thank you for being here.
If you can't find me at home, call OGS.
There you go.
If I'm here.
Well, thanks, Sunda.
You're welcome.
I just want to thank Sunda Peters for being willing to share with us today her thoughts and insights on OGS and her long history of contributions to OGS and how much she has meant to OGS over the years and just how much OGS has meant to her. So thank you again, Sunda, for joining us today. I hope you all enjoy listening. And thanks again for listening to the OGS Ohio Roots podcast.
The Ohio Roots podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Genealogical Society, the premier gateway for discovering your Ohio family history. Hosted by OGS Executive Director Mill Poyer and edited by Luke Poyer. Theme song is Beautiful Ohio, recorded by Bob Stanley and his orchestra in 1944. To learn more about joining the Ohio Genealogical Society, visit www.ogs.org.